right, I'm going to call this meeting to order for the July 11, 2019 Committee as a Whole meeting for Business Affairs and Administration. Roll call, please, Ms. Campbell.
Mrs. Heinz,
She's here somewhere.
Mr. Green, Mr. Derman,
Here.
Mr. Luke, Mr. Harrell, Mr. Nation, Mrs. Richardson, Mr. Winkler, Mrs. Drucker, Mr. Betancourt, Mrs. Lamy. Okay, great. Mr. Hersey, Mr. Bro, Mr. Kuzan, Mrs. Page.
Thank you. Folks, we're going to do away with the invocation and the pledge as that was done in our prior meeting. Do we have any recognition of visitors by board members? Seeing no board member has anybody they'd like to recognize, we're going to move on to public comments for 5 minutes and 3 minutes, which I do not believe we have anyone that has signed up for that either. So I'm fixing to be real popular. Approval of the minutes for committee as a whole meeting held on June 6, 2019. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Ms. Richardson, second by Ms. Drucker. Any comments or questions regarding the meetings by board members? Seeing none by the public? Seeing none. We're going to vote on that, I believe. I'm going to bet this passes 13-0, but I'm just guessing. There you go, 13. No nays, no abstentions. Okay, now we're going to go to item 4 on the agenda, which is going to be consideration of employees' salary schedule for the year 2019-2020. Mr. Javion.
Thank you, Mr. Darman. You had electronically posted on board docs a copy of the salary schedule, and I think we had one at your place for you tonight. It's a pretty thick document. I'd like to go over briefly what's in that document, and we're asking for your approval tonight. And that document includes all salary schedules for all of our employees in the school system and criteria involved in how you get promoted, if you're demoted, what happens, other criteria for how raises are granted, and that type of thing. So the highlights of this is really, I think, very positive. We received from the state funding in the MFP that granted all of our certificated personnel a $1,000 raise. That is reflected in the numbers, and a $500 raise for all of our non-certificated personnel. Also reflected in the numbers is what we call a pay level or a pay step increase due to the collective bargaining, which expires at the end of this coming school year. But there was a $500 step for teachers and a $350 step for our support personnel. In addition, we have met with Ms. Green, and because of the funding that we received and the initiative from Mr. Foss, our superintendent, we have got together and bargained for another step of $500 for teachers and $350 for our support personnel. So in essence, a teacher, if you approve the salary schedules tonight, a teacher will receive $2,000 plus, if they are highly effective, they can get a $500 stipend. And I'll back up just a little bit. The monies I've just talked about will all be included in their base. It will not be a stipend. So it will be in their annual salary year to year. So teachers or certificated personnel have the ability to have $2,500 if they are highly effective, and our support personnel will get the $500 plus the $350, which is $700 for a total of $1,200. That's in there. There was monies that we used from the MFP, the 1.375%, the state had said you do not have to use this in pay raises. We decided that, yes, we would like to do that. So we have the ability to do that. So we used all of that on our raises. The law did not require it, but it certainly permitted us to do so. So these are the highlights, Mr. Foltz. I will ask you, is there anything else that you would want to point out in the salary
No,
schedules?
sir, I think you covered it. I think that there, the comment about the 3.75, the board having options, but we chose to put it all in that. And I think the other important part is all of it being in the base. So it's, a yearly reoccurring raise.
Okay, any questions from, can we key up the speak request? Because I'm
You
sure
need to
we're
make-
gonna have some
Probably
people
need a
that want
motion
to
for
ask
us, huh?
questions.
Just
Sure.
need a motion?
You
Yeah.
want the motion
And
first?
can I get a motion? A motion by Ms. Richardson, second by Mr. Kuzan. So we have the motion on the floor to accept the salary schedule. Now we're opening it up for discussion, and
You want that?
I want to queue it up for request.
Does it show the speakers?
Yeah, let's see here.
They took it off of the screen just for you to see it.
Okay.
Should be able to queue it up to where it shows where the speakers can request to speak. Is Kim not here? Kim is here.
Whoops, it's.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
I didn't
Okay.
touch anything.
Well, there, well, it's up. It's up.
You did? Okay.
Okay, Mr. Bro, you're up, you queued in first, so
Thank you, Mr.
you get to
Chairman.
go.
Just a couple of questions. Am I correct in saying that it was the non-certificate employees are getting the 500 from the state and then 350?
That is
For a
correct.
total of 1,200?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Of course, I applaud the move by the administration to propose this. The second question was, in regards to the administrative personnel, I started at the back, and then you got F 1, 2, 3, 4. Are they the same thing? They're classified, or do we get a percentage?
They get
I
an
mean,
in- they get in-
if you're
index.
making, $120, a $2,000 raise is
Yeah,
not as much, but
we're indexed. In management, we're indexed, which means we get a percentage over the amount. Also, so that you know what we're doing, the raise is for a 9-month employee. So if you are a 12-month employee.
You get more.
That raise will be annualized for the 12 months.
all right.
Terry, am I saying that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, so sometime offline, I'd like to know what the indexes are, but let's not.
Yeah, well, in the salary schedule, you'll
Right.
see the indexing for the supervisors and assistant superintendent, associate
So
superintendent.
that
All of that is there.
F1 is some kind of index as opposed to an F2, or?
The F salary schedule is management, which is basically your non-certificated personnel that are your directors.
Right.
For example, maintenance or IT or business affairs.
And they're indexed as well?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Richardson.
I have a question, and I just wanted to confirm, Mr. Jabby, did I read correctly that there's no anticipated healthcare increase? Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's a great point.
Okay. I've been just so excited about this part of the night. I have already sent
because
my
it's in my
appreciation to
meetings.
Mr. Falls.
And everybody's going.
But I do want to thank Mr. Falls, first and foremost, for taking the initiative on this. I want to thank you, Mr. Jabby, and your support team as well for doing this. It was one thing for the state to do that, but I think it speaks volumes when your district gets behind you and says, hey, this is what we're going to do. And thank you for putting that on their base. From the bottom of my heart, I am so grateful. And I'm not even the teacher. I just know that this is going to mean so much to them.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not getting a raise. I do understand that.
No,
But thank you.
Board members, your salary is not in that salary schedule. You do not. you
But
do
hey,
not
there's
get
no
a raise.
health care increase if you're using it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Richardson, Ms. Leamy.
Thank you.
Tammy?
I think Mr. Grove's questions answered mine, so I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna ask a question. Is anyone else got any other questions or anything? All right, Mr. Jabby, we, at one point, I know we were talking about where our salaries lined up statewide to some of the other districts, and part of this was an attempt to try to, increase our salaries for our employees as long, because everybody got the state raise, but I was just trying to feel where we are in relationship to some of the other districts.
Okay. I anticipated this, Mr. Derman. So, Terry Prevost.
Because you've been here so long.
Because I've been here so long and I know you. So I asked Ms. Prevost to do some research. Without having to pick up the phone and call every district in the state, we went to the state website. But the latest salaries they have is like 17, 18, okay? But Terry went and looked at like the top 15 districts in the state. We were ranked number 9, okay? And then we put in our raises that we've gotten since 17, 18 through the collective bargaining agreement, and then we put in these raises. But what we also found out when we started doing some research, other districts are doing not the same thing as dollar amount, but they're doing similar things of like ponying up more money other than what the state is giving. So trying to compare apples to apples, which is very, very difficult, we only jumped one spot in the scale. So we went from 9 to 8, if everything goes as we think it will.
Right.
But we're not certain about that. And you have to understand that, because when the state gives across-the-board raises to everybody in the state, then everybody's salary schedule is gonna go up a minimum of that much. And then if the local system contribute anything, they go up. So it's pretty hard to gain, you
Right.
gotta do it one step at a time, so.
Right, but the other point to that is that if you look at some of our other benefits that we offer our employees, some other district may not be doing that as well, so that's an advantage for us.
I think
But I just wanted to say that we're trying to keep pace with
Yes.
where we are, and we
Yes.
think we're very competitively
Yeah.
pricing our salaries and our wages out without being overly, expending.
When you look at a total compensation package, it's a lot more than that salary that you're looking at in that salary schedule, because we pay 85 to 90% of an employee's premium. And
Right.
that's like money that you would have to pay out if we didn't pay it.
Exactly.
So that's compensation too.
And I think if we look back, at some of our other figures that we use, if 88% of our entire budget goes to salaries and benefits.
Correct.
I mean, that still is proportionately the same regardless of what goes on when you're looking at the increases that we may get in funding through the MFP or through the state for pay raises or whatever. So still, we're still maintaining that or trying to increase it slightly, but I mean, we still have to run the school district on 13%
Right.
of our
Considering
funding.
the board has done a great job, because Terry can maybe give me the exact number of years, but I bet it's been at least 10 years since we've gotten a raise from the state. Am I pretty close?
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 10 years.
Yeah, I think
that's
it's about
been-
10 years that we haven't gotten a raise.
And
from
we've
the state.
actually, a couple of those years, we've actually gotten less money through the MFP.
Well, through the MFP, yeah,
Yeah, we
they have given us
actually
that
been,
1.375.
You know,
Yeah.
reduced in funding.
Right.
Okay, so that's my conversations, and I'm gonna pass. Anybody else? Ms. Heinz?
Well, I just wanted to point out that that was one of those items that we went to the state legislature and talked to them about, that teachers hadn't gotten a raise in 10 years, and that it needed to be in the base pay. That was, we just emphasized that many times to our legislators.
I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's very important that it be included in the base pay for employees and not just a one-time stipend. And then school districts would be scrambling trying to find that funding.
And as Mr. Green said, it wasn't as easy as you thought it would be.
Here again, for all the people that were here earlier, and we talked about the efforts that it takes for us to get positive responses through Baton Rouge, it's sometimes hard to understand why it's that difficult.
Yes, sir.
But it is. Ms. Richardson.
I just wanted to build upon what Ms. Hines just said. Dr. Pope, who's over the Louisiana School Board Association, actually described the St. Tammany School Board as a force to be reckoned with. That's how powerful it was to be up at the Capitol and advocating for our teachers. So,
And we do it all the time. And
whenever we can.
yes. And sometimes we're successful and sometimes we're not.
Not so much.
Okay, so we have that, we have a motion on the floor. Board members have finished their conversation.
Question.
Okay.
I'm sorry. This is gonna cover, everybody in our school system is getting some type of raise, right?
Except
Is
school
that
board
anyone
members.
that's left out besides maybe?
School board members.
All employees, all employees,
Okay, yeah.
all employees, yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. All right, any comments from the public regarding the salary schedule? Ms. Berrios?
Lee Barrios. The only reason I'm getting up here now is because it seems like lately, when I used to work 100% with you all, and now I'm always questioning what's happening because that's my role. Seems like I always am addressing something negative, but I do want to applaud you all and the superintendent for taking this action and doing what, I mean, everybody could see that this needed to be done for our teachers and more, but, so I just want to get up here and say something positive for a change.
Thank you, Ms. Berrios. Thank you. I think some of the concerns that our school board has had over the years is because of the difficulties that we've had in receiving our true funding from the state. It limits us on making commitments as far as salary schedules and increases because we never know what the state may cut us or take away from us, and yet we still have to meet these demands. And so if we get unfunded mandates from the state that cost us several $1 million, then we have to find a way to cover those. So, but again, we appreciate your comments tonight. Thank you, Ms. Barrios. Okay, seeing no other comments, so please everyone vote. I was surprised. It passed 13 with 0 nays and 2 absent, so we did great. Okay, Mr. Jabbia, annual uniform evaluation.
Yeah, that was in your packet and electronic on board docs. Dr. Tillman is here if any of you have any questions.
Any questions regarding the uniform, Ms. Haynes?
Not a question, just a comment. Thank you. I know it's a cumbersome process, but we appreciate you going through with it.
Ms. Haynes?
Yes, I do appreciate that very much. I know some of them are permanent. Can you remind me, like I remember when Slidell voted, and it's been a really long time, how they just never vote again?
Once it becomes permanent, you don't vote again.
So how does that happen? You vote more than one time to become permanent?
I think it's 2
You
times.
have to have two consecutive
Votes
years for 51%.
Thank you,
And then once that's completed, the school will not vote again as permanent.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions from board members? Because Raphael, I have one for you. I think when we looked at the uniform report, it was almost all high schools except for one,
Except for Lee Road.
Lee Road Junior High,
That do not have uniforms.
that do not have uniforms. And whenever we had the safety, consultant done with, Mr. Trump, and we talked about uniforms, I mean, was there a an advantage or disadvantage for having uniforms on campus, or?
Yeah, we went over this with Mr. Trump's recommendations. That was one of his recommendations, that makes a difference. And the board agreed to, let's see what's gonna happen, because a bunch of parents showed up, and let's see what's happened, for safety and security. Parents are gonna vote the right way, and every one of them voted it down again. We just went through that vote.
And because truly, as an individual, I can see it being an advantage for especially our lower age children. And for instance, almost every school out there has uniforms except Lee Road Junior High. And then the other schools are high schools. And I can see where the high school students may see, individuality or whatever. But I was just curious from a true safety standpoint if there's
It was a recommendation from Mr. Trump.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So there's no action to be taken, it's
No,
just
that's just a
information?
report, just a report.
Any other questions or comments, board members? Seeing none. Okay. Mr. Javier, we're gonna go to the monthly maintenance and custodial report.
Yeah, and that's in your packet also if you have any questions, but I'd also like to take this opportunity to introduce to you our newest member of management in the maintenance department, Mr. Gary Hoover, who is the assistant. Stand up, Gary. That's it. He wants to show off his new suit. He said he dug it out of the. But we welcome Gary aboard. I know he's gonna do a great job. He's got many years with us and serving different capacities in the maintenance department. He's now assistant to the director of transportation, along with, maintenance, sorry, we had interviews for
move him over to
transportation today.
transportation.
Sorry, for maintenance. So we welcome Gary aboard. If you have any questions on, maintenance and custodial, Mr. Gottschalk is here, he'll answer those.
Any questions for maintenance? Okay, seeing none. We're gonna go to monthly risk management.
Yeah, Mr. Gaspard is here, and your report's in the packet. If you have any questions, Mr. Gaspard is here and can address those.
Any questions for Mr. Gaspar? Seeing none. Monthly transportation.
Yes, Mr. Alfonso is, contrary to his belief, he's still transportation director. So he's here to answer any questions, and I also want to point out that we put in your packet a little flyer. This is what we've been doing for the last few years. It's a hotline, and then we man it from 7 in the morning to 6 at night, and to make sure for any parents that have any questions regarding transportation, so that we have all the kids ready for the right bus and the right route and going to the right school. So that's been a big help for us, and Transportation Department is doing that. But Mr. Alfonso is here if you have any questions.
Any questions for transportation? Ms. Drucker?
Mr. Alfonso, I was just curious, we had talked about, and I know maybe it's on our wish list, as far as parents being able to track where their buses are. Are we going to implement that this coming school year?
We are piloting, there's a couple of systems out there that we're interested in, and we're piloting them now. It's, I can't remember the exact name of the company, but it's, one of them is like, where's the bus? And so you set a target area on your smartphone, like a quarter-mile radius or a mile radius or whatever it wanted to be, and when that bus gets within that radius, it will send a text message or an alert to that smartphone saying this is where the bus is, so the parents can get their kids ready, make sure they get out to the bus stop.
I think that's going to be wonderful. Do we have a tentative date on when that will go
No,
live?
as soon as we can pilot and get everything working, it requires a separate GPS system, so we're doing that right now. How many buses do we have?
We're currently piloting 5 buses in various spots around the parish, and we're piloting the one that communicates with our Edgelog software.
So that's the one we're.
That's a component that you have to make sure it communicates with your routing software. So
And how long are we going to pilot?
we're still.
for how many-
7 or 8 years.
You mean when you retire?
No, we should know something hopefully by the second semester.
Yes, sir.
Steve?
Okay, so
Yeah.
in January.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the update.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Alfonso. All right, going to item 6, which is construction, Ms. Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Derman. I have a short construction report. At Madisonville Elementary, the site has been cleared and piling is on site. The contractor and design team are working together on the piling layout. The opening between the existing cafeteria and the existing gym is built and is being finished out. At the library, the new framing is completed and the new roof deck area is being installed. At Mandeville High, the old modulars and walkways have been removed and demolished. The HVAC changeout for the gym and commons is underway. The sidewalks at the football field have been poured and the work at the Industrial Arts Building for the wheelchair lifts is underway. At Slidell High, the cafeteria work is progressing. The new kitchen is being cleaned and being prepared for inspections, and a new lift station is being installed. Roofers are on site and completing the roofing at all locations, including Bonnie Cole Elementary, Boyette Junior High, Florida Avenue Elementary, Folsom Elementary, Mandeville Elementary, St. Tammany Junior High, Slidell Junior High, and Trine Technology Center. Masonry repair at 6th Ward Elementary Gymnasium is progressing well. Site improvement projects at Covington High, Fontainebleau High, Mandeville High, and Pearl River High Schools are also progressing on schedule. Responses to the request for qualifications for professional services for large and small projects, as well as technical services, were received on June 27th. We received responses from over 90 companies. The responses have been processed and packaged to go out to the Screening and Evaluation Committee to start their review.
Okay, well, okay, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Tipton? Mr. Green?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Tipton, I would just ask, and this probably goes without saying, but to the extent that those requests for proposals are from reputable firms within St. Tammany Parish, that we, as long as they do good work, that we try to give preference to those firms as being supportive of our community.
There are many evaluation criteria that make up the questions that were part of the request for qualifications and the forms that are filled out. And one of the evaluation criteria, which does get points, is their location and proximity relative to this parish.
Yep. Thank you, Ms. Tipton. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with all that other stuff coming up.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go now to item 7, business affairs. Ms. Prevost.
The May financial statement was sent to you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? Seeing none, Ms. Prevost.
And the purchasing report was also sent to you. Ms. Stevens is here to answer any questions.
Any questions for the purchasing? So Terry, you get credit for all that pay raise? I mean.
She makes it try. I don't
Say,
take credit.
say no. Just say no.
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, announcements by the board president, Ms. Haynes.
Thank you very much. The regular board meeting will be Thursday, July 18th at 7 p.m. The 2019-20 board meeting dates have been posted to the Board Docs homepage and are attached to the handout section of the agenda. Ms. Ferris, we'll miss you. Your last meeting. Oh, thank you.
Well, congratulations.
Not her last day, though.
Her last meeting.
Don't forget those oatmeal raisin cookies somewhere.
Oh, that's my fave too.
All right, with no further business to come before the board, we're adjourned.